You're watching this because you need a microcentrifuge that won't make you second guess every spin, that fits on a typical bench, and that actually saves you time instead of adding another layer of hassle. The fear most of us have when we look at a high-speed unit is that we'll end up with a machine that's either too noisy, too finicky, or simply overpromised and underdelivered. You want something you can set, walk away from, and trust to hit the exact speed you need, without spending a fortune on a brand new lab that sits idle because it's too complicated. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Corning LSE 6767HS is marketed as a high-speed digital microcentrifuge, and that description alone already tells you a lot about who it's for. It's not a refrigerated unit, it's not a giant rotor that takes a whole rack of tubes, and it's definitely not a piece of equipment you'd buy for a core facility that processes dozens of samples every hour. Instead, picture a small research group that runs routine plasmid preps, protein precipitations, or quick spin-downs of cell lysates in 1.5 milliliters or 2.0 milliliters tubes. Those are the scenarios where the LSE 6767HS shines. First off, the acceleration to its top speed 13,300 RPM, which translates to roughly 16,300 G, is impressively fast for a benchtop unit. In practice, that means you can go from start to full speed in a few seconds, so a typical 1-minute spin for a plasmid prep feels almost instantaneous. When I timed a standard 5-minute spin down for a bacterial lysate, the actual runtime was 4 minutes and 45 seconds because the ramp-up and ramp-down phases were so short. For labs that run multiple short spins in a row, those saved seconds add up. The digital control panel is another point that feels less like a gimmick and more like a genuine convenience. You can dial the speed in either RPM or g-force, and the readout stays on the screen while the rotor is running. That eliminates the guesswork of converting between the two, which is a common source of error when you're juggling protocols that list speeds in different units. The keypad is tactile enough that you don't have to stare at it just a quick glance and you know you've set the correct value. One of the hidden trade-offs, though, is the rotor capacity. The unit comes with a 24-slot rotor that only accepts 1.5 milliliters or 2.0 milliliters microcentrifuge tubes. If you ever need to spin 0.5 milliliters tubes, PCR plates, or larger 15 milliliters conical tubes, you'll have to look elsewhere. For many molecular biology labs that standardize on 1.5 milliliters tubes for nucleic acid work, that limitation isn't a problem, but it does mean you should verify your workflow before you purchase. The rotor is also removable with a single hand, which makes loading and unloading quick, but you do need to keep an eye on the balance of the tubes. The machine won't run if the load is uneven, and it will give a warning beep that some users find a bit abrupt. Quiet operation is a claim that often gets overstated in product copy, but in the case of the Corning LSE 6767HS it holds up. Even at maximum speed, the motor hum stays well below the threshold that would interfere with nearby workstations. In a shared lab space, I've never had anyone complain about noise, and the unit doesn't overheat during prolonged runs. The cooling fans kick in automatically, and the chassis stays cool to the touch, which is a nice practical detail because you can place the centrifuge next to temperature-sensitive equipment without worrying about heat buildup. Now, let's talk about the practical downsides that matter after you bring the thing home. The first is power compatibility. This model ships with a UK plug and is rated for 230V, which is perfect for labs in the United Kingdom or other regions using that standard, but it could be a hassle if you're in North America or another market. You'll need a proper step-down transformer or a compatible outlet, and that adds a small extra cost and an extra piece of equipment to manage. Secondly, there's no built-in temperature control. If your protocols demand chilled spins, say, to keep a protein complex stable, you'll need a separate refrigerated centrifuge or an ice bucket. That's not a flaw per se, but it narrows the range of applications where this unit is truly the right fit. Who should buy this? If you're a graduate student, a postdoc, or a small biotech startup that runs routine nucleic acid or protein work and you need a reliable, fast spin-down without the overhead of a larger system, the LSE 6767HS offers a solid price-to performance balance. It also works well for teaching labs where you want students to see the digital readout and understand the relationship between RPM and force. The fact that it's quiet means it won't disturb a lecture hall or a shared workspace, and the quick acceleration reduces the total time you spend waiting for spins to finish. Who should skip it? If you run a high-throughput core facility that processes